Obviously, once I talked
Not
to the
professional
lawyer,
advice.
what's that?
It's not professional advice, that's for sure.
Yeah, not on this stuff, that's for sure. But when I talked to the lawyer, he's like, "Oh yeah, we got to go through this and hook you up." So it's costing us about $400 for him to go back in and just make it more solid. Whatever they do, I don't know what lawyers do other than annoy me, but
add a few fancy words,
yeah,
and then charge you $100 per word that they add.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was actually just joking before we did the episode that I was looking at an S corporation that this lawyer did for me, and it looks almost identical to the thing I had originally done on the internet. Anyway, so hopefully it's taken care of. And by the way, I mean, this is one of those things that I guess could be considered optional. Now, I know people that have started their business and are still running their business, making really good money without even doing this LLC. But I was very clear on wanting to protect myself, to protect my home, things like that. Because I didn't want the things to fall through the business onto like my personal family and stuff, whereas the LLC helps with protection against that kind of thing.
All right, the next thing you're going to need is a product. Now, with a lot of traditional businesses, you have to get a product manufactured and prototyped, or you have to go and find a provider, and maybe you buy stock at wholesale and you turn around and sell it at a profit. But when we're talking about internet business, we're specifically talking about information products, which means that it is just a matter of putting it together yourself, or maybe hiring somebody to put it together for you or with you. But an ebook, it's just your time to put it together. And there's no manufacturing, there's no production. You can sell videos online, you sell audio online, you have a membership site. I mean, all these things are digital product. Nothing physical has to be manufactured or put together or shipped, fulfilled, anything like that. So it's pretty much just your time to get your first product up and going. And that's the way that we teach it as well in the academy, is how to take your ideas, your passions, your expertise, something that you want to offer value in, and put together some kind of digital information product that doesn't cost you any money up front, but that you can sell at a very high margin and make good money off of just by digitally delivering that through your website. And that's another one of the beauties of internet business.
Yeah, and I do know people really well that started by doing an ebook, and what they did is they actually had a ghostwriter write it, and they told them exactly what needed to be in there, and found somebody that knew about that and paid them. One person I'm thinking paid about $600 for their first ebook to be written. So I just wanted to mention that's on the high end. There are other possibilities, but when we first started, of course, we just did our own, which was just our time.
No, the next thing is you got to get traffic to your site. If you've got a site up, you've got your product there and ready and available, obviously you got to get people to be aware of your site. Now, the good news is that the things that we teach most are either, completely free to get traffic from, or very, very inexpensive. I mean, the real center of the whole business philosophy that we teach is content marketing, which means that you're regularly putting out great authoritative content in your niche that's going to get the attention of your market, magnetically pull them towards you, get them to kind of start to get to know you and trust you as a leader, and they stick around. I mean, it's the exact same thing we've done with the podcast. They stick around and listen to you, and then when you make offers, they're ready to buy. That product's there through your site to go and get, and that's how we drive a whole six-figure business right there, is just through content marketing. So that's next to free. I mean, I guess in our case, we bought a little bit of audio equipment because we were doing a podcast. Some people blog, which is just then your time to write the articles that you're putting up. But in this case, it's consistency and writing good stuff and putting it out there on a regular basis that's going to attract people to you. Now, there's hundreds and hundreds of different ways to get traffic to your site, and some of them do cost. You can do advertising. You can go out there and do Google AdWords or paid ads in text newsletters, or pay for advertising on Facebook. You can go out there and do mailings if you wanted, even offline mailings, and get ads in magazines. There's a billion ways. But if you don't have an advertising budget to start, yes, it might take a little more time to build up some momentum, but you can start now and for free, just by following that kind of content management strategy that we teach you inside of the academy. So there's no cost to speak of there when you start out.
Well, and for us, our main first bit of traffic came from our podcast in iTunes, which the cost was actually, like 10 minutes of setup time telling iTunes.
Yeah.
And, obviously we had the podcast and blog website set up. As far as the going out specifically to get traffic, it was iTunes for a long time, a couple of years at least. It was just iTunes and any of the other podcast aggregators, which altogether took, I don't know what, maybe an hour to set up so that they all knew we existed. And that was it.
Yep. And we just produced great content consistently month upon month, and our audience started growing. And then we started making money. All right, one that gets overlooked quite often is mentorship, and I'm sure it gets thought of as being an optional thing. People think, well, I'll just be able to figure it out on my own, and that's certainly a route you can go. But in our experience, it's really those moments where you start getting guidance from other people, when you start collaborating with other people in masterminds and getting mentorship and getting ideas and bouncing ideas around and getting feedback. And essentially, it's about calling ahead, finding out from somebody who's already at the spot you want to be at and saying, how do I get to where you are? I mean, think of it if you're like going on a road trip and you needed the map, or you needed to call and have your friend give you directions into their home. That's the kind of thing we're talking about here. Now, mentorship, it can come for free. You can go and find somebody to be your mentor. The thing you have to keep in mind is obviously somebody who has been there and done it and is doing well at it, they're going to value their time very highly, and they may have an altruistic desire to be able to help other people, but they have to be very selective about what it is that they do. So you have to make it worth their while in some way. If you are going to go for free mentorship, you're going to have to really look around and find the right person and figure out, what can I do for them? How can I help them in their business? Maybe I can do some grunt work for them. Maybe, this was something I learned the value of when I started with real estate investing. I found a real estate investor in the area who was doing quite well, and I worked for free for him for several months, going out and looking for houses and meeting with homeowners and doing a lot of the grunt work for him. And in exchange for that, I was able to see his business and be around what he did and get tips and pointers, and that's eventually what helped me get my first deal done and be able to quit my job and move forward into my own business. So, it came down to mentorship. But at the same time, I also paid to go to some of his seminars, and I paid for thousands of dollars of other real estate investing courses as well, and listened to those constantly while I was in the car. I found mentors, and that's where this whole idea of how do I get out of my job and start a business, when that idea went from being this thing, I was just like, I don't know how to get to that point, to actually doing it and turning in my 2 weeks notice and making something happen. So, you got to decide which way is going to work for you, but eventually you are going to have to pay for some kind of guidance, some kind of mentorship. And, that's why we've put together something like the Academy, because there's a lot of things that we wish that we had known, that somebody had told us early on when we were first starting out, and that we could have had, more specific guidance in the style of business that we wanted to do. So we didn't have to figure out so many things by ourselves and take months and years of time to get to that point.
Yeah, I definitely wish that I had have done that more in the beginning. I know it wouldn't have taken me as long to get where I am now had I done this. And I think now, looking back, I think it might be the most important expense, as, it can save you huge amounts of time and money in the future, because you can learn the ins and outs and not have to trudge through every single mistake and pitfall there is out there from somebody, and just get those kicked out of the way right from the, by paying for it up front if you can, for sure.
All right. So, basically we've broken it down there. So we've got anywhere from, on the low end, you're going to have to spend, let's say, $100 on hosting, $19 a month on your email list management, and you can get a free site, you can get free WordPress, you can use PayPal for free, you can kind of figure out how to start the LLC yourself if you want. I mean, that's your decision to make, and you can create the product for free, you can get traffic for free, and then I guess it would just be a matter of mentorship. So we're talking for as little as $100, and then maybe $30 a month, $20 a month for Aweber if you paid, so because it's $100 up front for the web hosting, and then $20 a month for Aweber. That's how much you can start a business for, which is just insanity when you think back to the story that Sterling talked about with, $30,000 to go and buy something like a franchise, or
to buy a $12 an hour job.
Yeah, that's insane.